Good morning, guys. We're talking about the great rental reset. What's happened in the last 5 years, and are rents still expected to skyrocket? Stay tuned.
I'm the ringleader, so listen up.
Good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
Good. I'm almost a bit sad and shocked to be reporting this news this morning. Like, I don't know where the last 5-6 years is going, how quickly it's crept up on us, but there's a lot of pain out there.
There is a lot of pain. There certainly is. And I think, Billy, it doesn't matter what suburb you are tuning in from or what suburb you might be reporting on. I think everyone is going to be reporting similar stats and similar news. These rents are skyrocketing. And at what stage does it hit a glass ceiling? That's the question. Question mark, question mark, question mark, question mark. You know,
Yeah.
there's when you think rents just cannot continue to skyrocket at this pace, I think there's a lot of eyebrows being raised. And, I certainly do feel for the tenants out there because it is becoming extremely unaffordable housing. But, equally, I feel for the landlords who often are the ones that get the hammer smacked over their head. But, they've got bills to pay. Interest rates are going up. Billy, you got some great stats there. Can we go through those?
Yeah, but let's just catch up. The last 6 years, like the great rental reset, COVID 2020 to 2021 was a really quite stagnant rental market. A lot of vacancy, borders shut, migration sort of came to a halt. Vacancy rates rose, and from there, it's just been quite a violent rebound. There was not a lot of movement in the 5 years prior to that as well, when you look at a 10-year history. Then when borders reopened, demand really exploded. When we bring it back to Northern Beaches, it's a lifestyle area, so that was even more intense. People wanting to work from home, improve their lifestyle. And it's been quite an aggressive upward trend from there, not only with demand, but just prices as well to meet that.
It's quite compelling, for use of a better word. If we look at, now we're based on the Northern Beaches of Sydney, but I'm certain that there would be lots and lots of reporting where these rents have climbed in pretty much every area. And I'd have to say, right across the country. But where we operate on the Northern Beaches of Sydney, there's a very beautiful beachside suburb called DY. And about 5 years ago, the average rental for just your stock standard 2-bedroom apartment was sitting at approximately $600 a week. And of course, there was a major surge there after COVID. Things sort of definitely did plateau out during COVID for obvious reasons. But after COVID, that surged to a staggering $800 to $850 per week. And that is for a standard 2-bedroom apartment. They're staggering. And the forecast is that there's going to be an increase of at least, I've just got some stats here, in DY apartments are set to rise 4 to 6% over the next year. And houses, if you're lucky enough to find a house rental, that is, that's set to rise 3 to 5% in the next year. So, just when everyone's feeling like they're getting squeezed even more, petrol prices, etc., those rental prices are set to increase again. And listen, Billy, can we just talk for a minute about the amount of apartments that are going up in DY? Can we just address that for a sec?
Yeah, particularly, well, any suburb. Look at where the new apartments are being built. Now with DY, it's unique. They have focused on Pittwater Road being the infrastructure that's already there to support the increased density. It feels like there's a lot being built because when you're driving down that main road, it's the road that takes you to work, takes your kids to school, takes you to the beach and back. All you see is the construction, but it's the only building that's happening. So I'll give you an example. There's a block of 240 apartments going in. Not all of them will become rentals. Plenty of owners moving in as well. But it looks like there's a lot of construction. really it's a drop in the ocean compared to the existing 11,000 residences in DY.
And so the apartment block that you're talking about in DY, where Northern Beach is based, guys, so we're talking about the Northern Beaches, which incidentally was an area that people moved to out of other areas because it was the cheaper option. And, you know, now those rents for these new 2-bedroom apartments, Billy, what are they set to look like when they're completed?
There'll be about 1,100 a week for a 2-bedroom, about 800 a week for a 1-bedroom. So
My goodness.
they're not considered affordable, but there is certainly a desire for newer apartments in the area. And as construction costs have blown out, you know, builders have not been able to deliver projects.
Yep.
Supply has almost been, you know, cut off. That's the reason these rents will continue to increase.
Absolutely. And look, it's a supply versus demand situation, as is anything in real estate. And I think, you know, everyone's quick to blame the landlord, but the landlord's got their own expenses. And, you know, I know Mark often talks about if you kill off the farmer, we're going to have problems here, the farmer being the landlord. And, you know, the government and all the policies around being a landlord now has made it really tricky. Interest rates have gone up. And so I think, you know, the question is, if you're a landlord, what are you going to do? Are you going to continue to put your rents up if your expenses are going up? It's not easy to be a landlord these days, you know, or they're just selling out. And every landlord that sells their investment property is one less rental that we have on the market. So again, this is a supply versus demand situation. But, you know, who's to blame? Because I think everyone's always going, someone's to blame here. The tenant is struggling. The landlord is struggling. You know, is it government policy? Is it an immigration situation? Is it a culmination of all of that plus the building costs, you know, that's resulting in this? Because you're quite right in saying, Billy, when you come along that main arterial road on the Northern Beaches, Pittwater Road, you see cranes in the sky and you assume there's just so much going on. But when you push down all of those side streets, there's nothing much has changed there for at least 20, 30, 40, 50 years.
Yeah, it's true.
You know,
and
that's the
in a
reality.
balanced market, there's about a 2 to 3% vacancy rate. On the Northern Beaches, we're sitting at 0.8%. So there's no slack.
It's wild.
There's no, you know, there's no slack there to ease things up a little bit. And so, you know, where do I think this is going? And Lisa, you had the stats before. Apartments, 4 to 6% a year, I think, is the projected increase, and houses about 3 to 5%. It's not, you know, not fun news. I'm a renter and a landlord. It's not easy on either side.
It is. It's super, super tricky. And, you know, look, here's the thing. I mean, for one of you guys was telling me the other day that you were in Freshwater and saw about 30 or 40 people lining up down the street, prospective tenants. You know, that was for one open home. It's rare that we're getting past that one open home. You know, then our property managers are getting sort of 20 to 30 applications coming through per property. So let's talk about some of the things that you can do. First of all, if you're a tenant, we feel your pain. If you're a landlord, we feel your pain. We're extremely exposed to both sides here. We manage, a lot of people don't know this, we manage circa 2,000 properties across the Sydney region. Most of them are on the Northern Beaches, but we do manage properties right across Sydney. So we have a very good crystal ball into what actually is going on out there. If you are a tenant and you are looking at putting forward an application, guys, fill out that application as thoroughly as you possibly can. Make it super easy for the property manager to report your application to the landlord. Keep it real simple. Add in extra information if you feel that's going to assist with your application. You know, they're the two things that I can suggest. You can look to even start to fill in your application. You must view the property in the rental market. You must view the property. But you could application and then complete filling it in once you've come through the property. You know, we're likely going to see a lot of people moving out of the Northern Beaches area into other more affordable areas. And then likewise, we're probably going to start to see people, we've already started to see it coming in from areas like the eastern suburbs and Mossman, more expensive areas, who find the Northern Beaches somewhat more affordable. What can you add to that, Billy?
I would suggest if it's in the landlord's interest as well, it's always nice to discuss a long lease where you can. So maybe
Love
rather
that.
than you say 6 or 12 months, see if they'd be open to maybe 18 months. Just buy yourself a little bit more time. I've personally found that work well. And I think the way of these expensive rates rents will be moving forward. People will be more inclined to share with a friend or with another couple. So I think the direction of rents will be towards larger properties, probably being slightly better off, small houses and apartments, 2-bed, 2-bath and more, because I'm finding people, the only way to combat this is to split the costs per head.
Agreed. Hey, I just want to add to that, and I know we're out of time. I just want to talk about what we're seeing with this studio accommodation market now in comparison to 2 years ago. Billy, you're like the studio king. You've sold so many of them over the last 12 months. These studio apartments, honestly, they were tricky. They used to be so hard to sell. Now they definitely don't make it to the real estate portals. They're often sold for incredible prices very, very quickly. Studio apartment is basically an apartment without a separated bedroom. It's where your bed is in the living room. Some of them are quite large. What have they been selling for, Billy? And can you just quickly tell us what those rentals look like?
Yeah, they're almost running net neutral, so the rent covers the mortgage. We've had deals put together between 650,000 to 700,000 in the last 12 months, and the rents are in between 650 to 700 as well, depending on the size and location. So yeah, size of the apartment doesn't always matter to the the rent and the resale.
And they rent out, guys, in about 2 minutes flat. If you're an investor, this is great information for you. A lot of these studio apartments are larger than 40 metres squared. Some of them are massive, but the rents are great. The rents are extremely appealing because, as Billy said, they're sort of coming in at sort of circa $6 to $650 a week, still deemed as affordable. We have definitely seen those getting snapped up over the last 2 years, and they've significantly increased in price as well. All right, guys, we're out of time. There you go. Yes, we are watching very closely what is going on here. We feel your pain as a tenant. We feel your pain as a landlord. If we can help you guys with any further information, feel free to reach out.
Thank you. Cheers for tuning in.
See ya.
Bye.
Thanks, Billy. Bye.